Right.
We're doing well in commercial, where we're just now hiring salespeople and where we de facto do nothing in a standard way. And by the way, we're not doing well, we're doing very well. We also have, by the way, many of the best individual investors because they are open to looking at how software actually will work. And they've seen our track record of being right in the government space numerous times, both in the classic terror prevention, in military context, in operational context. Analysts tend to butcher that, quite frankly, by breaking us up into the Frankenstein monster that they otherwise might see in an enterprise. The company in 2004, the idea was to bring world-class software to our intelligence and military communities. And then we developed some basic principles of what it would mean to build for a large enterprise, some of which are, I think, still quite unique and differentiated. But as an example, how do you find terrorists without sacrificing civil liberties? How do you get enterprises to buy products instead of building them? How do you build software where, in fact, the software and the institutions that the software serves are actually aligned, both morally and financially, over a long period of time? How do you select and deselect clients? How do you work in secure environments where you have limited access? When we started, these were heretical, radical, and deeply controversial concepts, especially in Silicon Valley. We were building these platforms at least a decade before anyone thought they'd be fully valued. If you look at the legislation around data protection now, it looks exactly like what we conceived 15 years ago. We built our commercial product with the assumption that there'd be major dislocations in the world. We didn't know which, either commercial, financial, or others. We did not foresee the pandemic. But the attributes of Foundry will allow you to take data sets, institutional knowledge from, for example, the UK's health system, which has essentially 600 different hospital units, each one of which has hundreds and hundreds of data silos, and turn that data silo into one unified picture while at the same time managing disunification, so civil liberties. And we could do that in this period of weeks because we had pre-built the software to deal with that kind of dislocation at scale in environments to which we often didn't have access. And so what we do as a company is we make bets that the world will look a certain way, in this case, dislocation. We think of the technical challenges you would have to solve if that dislocation happened, as an example. And then we built a complete stack. What's very radical about our government product, our operational product in the special forces context, our commercial product, which is used in government and commercial globally, is that you can buy it in a modular form, but if the stuff is really hitting in the fan, there's no time for that. You have to, for example, rebuild the supply chain for an industry that is no longer able to buy products in one country or another. Legislation changes, and there's a crisis which requires, in this example, PPE to be distributed where the resources are not enough to fit demand. So you have a resource allocation problem. The software motor of that would otherwise be something you would need 40 products to do that sew together. Or what most enterprises would do is they would build that over 3 to 5 years. We can install that in days. The framing of doing something new, whether it's philosophical or anthropological or architecture, is always hard because you're doing something that as such does not have a classical framing. You could think of it as you get all the ERP systems you already have, plus the ability to integrate those systems, plus the models which will make them valuable, plus the ability to hook into AI or to do manual analysis, plus the ability to confront and implement civil liberties in other jurisdictions in a platform. And so, shorthand, analysts tend to butcher that, quite frankly, by breaking us up into the Frankenstein monster that they otherwise might see in an enterprise, where in fact, the real power of Palantir is that it's organic. We've built in our lifetime something like over 400 products. It is something different. I think what clients view it as Palantir, whether they're in the special forces, whether they're using our AI product, each one of these at the end is modified. They view it as life-saving technology. That's actually what they buy. You know, going from first to second to third to fourth platform, we learned a lot. And so we learned a lot in building PG, our government platform, made some mistakes on our first financial platform, and solidified our knowledge on what to build and how to build things around 2015. So in fact, going into the public eye where people then actually look very closely at what you're doing, how you're doing it, and might try to replicate it, seemed to be a mistake. The reason ultimately why we went public was, you know, Palantir is a company where every person is an owner. And at some point, those owners deserve to have, you know, the fruits of their labor. I believe then when we did the DPO, and I believe certainly now that having Palantirians having access to their own capital that they've created is a really important thing. I would also note it's very much helped us because if you're in private for, you know, almost 2 decades, that's so anomalous. We're already anomalous enough. We're building platforms like no one else does. We reject the culture of Silicon Valley. We work with the West. We're proud to work with the West. We also protect civil liberties. And I'm not viewed as your average CEO. So having something that, you know, looks a little more standard in what can look like an ongoing cacophony of technological rigor, but also cultural chaos has been enormously valuable for Palantir and has given our clients, both present and hopefully future, a lot of comfort about the rigor of our company. We made a number of radical claims when we went to DC and across the world. First claim, people are not going to buy bespoke software that barely works at a massive cost. Second claim, when there's crisis, people want to buy the whole stack of the software, or at least modularity that actually works from the start. Third claim, only in the context of deploying the software from end to end could you actually guarantee the veracity of data protection while having access to all the data to which you're allowed to have access. Fourth claim, there would be an enormous, a 20x, maybe 50x price and speed difference. Fifth claim, you will never keep the world's best engineers working on bespoke products. And last not least, as an addendum to claim 5, that the best software developers in the world, in the culture that's built for them, can build things that no one else can build. Wall Street has basically said to themselves, well, you were right about that, but we're not sure you're going to be right in our world. By the way, we were told that by legislators. I was told that by experts. I was told that by somewhat often lame VCs in Silicon Valley that would not invest in Palantir because of that. They were wrong, and they, I believe, will be wrong in the commercial space, very simply because software is moving from a luxury product you can afford to ignore in your IT department while it fails to the thing that will determine whether you survive as an industry, or quite frankly, if you can defend yourself and act aggressively or correctly passively as a government. And this dialectic of learning is exactly what is already happening in commercial, which is, by the way, why we're doing so well in commercial. Right. We're doing well in commercial, where we're just now hiring salespeople and where we de facto do nothing in a standard way. And by the way, we're not doing well, we're doing very well. But the core pushback of Wall Street, in my view, is a debate about a number of assumptions that I think are wrong. And we'll see. First, you can build technology the way it's built the last 50 years in software, and that will work. Second, that you can measure the veracity and value of software as if you're measuring the value and veracity of a candy bar or a wrench. I believe software, and everyone else, by the way, who's in the software business, believes that software is a force for dislocation. It is nonlinear, and you have to understand the software, and that new ways and better ways of building software will have exponential impact. That's something we believe at Palantir. We believe that the world will see that. We believe that the cost, and both the cost in terms of vulgar terms, i.e. what do you pay, but also the cost in terms of societal terms. How do you protect the data? What happens inside the enterprise? Who gets to use the data? Lots and lots of people, both institutional. We've had some of the best and have some of the best institutional investors in the world in Palantir. We also have, by the way, many of the best individual investors because they are open to looking at how software actually will work, the veracity of the code base, the quality of the people we attract and retain, and they've seen our track record of being right in the government space numerous times, both in the classic terror prevention, in military context, in operational context, and although we can't talk much about it, the AI, when we started in the AI game, it was just PowerPoints for people who weren't technical. AI is now actually online and an active and determinative force in the world scene between America and its adversaries. And Palantir plays a crucial role in that and has built technology that is unique, and some of which we will be able to use and can ethically use in the commercial context, both AI on bulk data sets and AI at the edge.
It is true. I will tell you that at Barron's, we always get a lot of attention, a lot of readers for stories about Palantir. And you have a very dedicated and wide following among retail investors. And talk a little bit about that and what you think resonates for
because we
retail
make
investors.
bold claims. We've been right on these bold claims, not always, but often. We made them in government. We made them over the last 2 decades. We speak clear English about what we're going to do. We're very aligned with our most important investor base, our Palantir employees. And then because of that, but also we respect the intelligence and rigor of what is typically called retail investors. What I call retail investors are people investing their own money. It's interesting how people investing their own money are pretty open to look at the code base, look at the quality of the engineers, look at the products, do due diligence on what the clients say, look at forums and see who's hiring. Whereas there are very, very strong institutional and traditional investors, but there really is also a subset of traditional and institutional investors that believe what they learned in business school, that was a way of measuring the veracity and difference between different kinds of candy bars and wrenches, can be applied to the software game. And they're just wrong, and it's lazy. Palantir builds software that's fully aligned with its clients. The Valley likes software or consumer internet products that are somewhat parasitic with the client. So it's your data as a consumer, but actually all the value belongs to someone else. It's your enterprise software product, but actually it doesn't do much, but it transfers the low value, low multiple revenue to a high multiple entity called a software enterprise. And those are the kind of enterprises that Silicon Valley really likes. So we were misaligned on the text, the headline text, political. What does it mean to be a company in the West? Who do you support and under what conditions? By the way, we were never, and I am not making the argument that our opinion is right. I just would make the opinion that our opinion is one worthy of articulating. And if you're going to take the other side of that, especially if you become enormously wealthy, you should take it overtly. And the second part, which is maybe more subtle, is what does it mean to build enterprise software? Last not least, there's another assumption. The Valley has forgotten, and many as well, that most interesting technology in this world started off dual use. It's only in the last decade or two that consumer technology has been maybe the dominant. We believe at Palantir, and we will see this in the AI context, that the ability to make AI work over the largest data sets in a highly regulated context will be the most valuable, most interesting, and most efficacious way of building actual AI, not PowerPoints, not machine learning, both on the core enterprise and at the edge. And we believe in working with the government that we also can bring products to consumers that are the products of the future.
Very much appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.